Welcome back to Recap Clips. Today I will show you an action comedy film from 2016, titled Luck Key. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. And also don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. On a rainy night, professional killer, Choi Hyung-wook, kills a man and hides him in the trunk of his car. The victim's suitcase is left in the middle of the street, only to be taken by a mysterious person right after the car drives away. In the same neighborhood, poor actor Yoon Jae-sung burns all his photos and gets ready to hang himself because he feels like he has nothing left to live for and no one will miss him. But his landlady stops him because he owes her money for rent, he lives like a pig, and he smells bad because he hasn't taken a bath in a while. After finding a bill from his health insurance in his pocket, Jae-sung decides he should at least kill himself in a clean way. He goes to a public bathhouse, where he sees Hyung-wook washing up next to him and notices his very expensive watch. After some times, Hyung-wook suddenly trips on some soap, hits his head on the floor, and loses his locker key as he falls. Jae-sung takes advantage of the situation by switching his key with Hyung-wook's key. He does this because he thinks the rich man may have very expensive things in his locker. When paramedic Kang Ri-na comes to take Hyung-wook away, they take Jae-sung's things with them. As soon as they're gone, Jae-sung gets to open Hyung-wook's locker and be amazed by what's inside. Jae-sung decides he deserves at least one last day of luxury before killing himself. He puts on Hyung-wook's suits and finds his car, which he uses to drive around town and visit his landlady in every shop he owes money, so he can pay off his debts with the money he's stolen. He even goes to see a girl from the theater where he used to work. After paying back the money she had lent him, she tells him she's getting married soon, which breaks his heart. Jae-sung realizes that using Hyung-wook's things won't magically make his life better, so he puts them all back in a bag and takes it to the hospital. The plan is to trade his stuff for Hyung-wook's while he's sleeping. But the man wakes up right before he take action. Hyung-wook has lost his memory and is now calling himself Jae-sung, which doesn't sound right to him. Because that's the name on the health insurance letter. He asks the real Jae-sung if he knows him, but Jae-sung gets scared and takes the bag and runs away. Hyung-wook can leave the hospital now that he's feeling better, but he only has $2 in Jae-sung's pocket and Jae-sung's health insurance has run out. So he can't pay the bill. When Ri-na comes to check on him, he asks her to lend him the money and tells her he will pay her back when he finds his home by following the address on the letter. Ri-na is a little unsure, but she agrees. She pays for everything and drives him back to his apartment. On the way there, they are surprised to see that the letter says he is 32 years old. Because he looks much older than that. When they get to his house, Ri-na realizes that he can't pay her back. But when they find the burned photos and the rope, which show that he almost killed himself, she feels sorry for him and tells him not to worry about paying before she goes back to her job. Hyung-wook wants to get his life back on track, so he starts by cleaning and organizing the whole apartment. He then writes down the few things he's learned about himself before going around the building, to talk to the neighbors. But not a single one of them wants to talk to him when they hear he's the guy from the rooftop loft. One of the neighbors is a violent man who has been mistreating his wife. When Hyung-wook approaches him with his questions, he thinks he wants to question him, so he tries to punch him. But Hyung-wook's fighting memory lets him defend himself and beat up the man without even breaking a sweat. When Ri-na went back to see him later, he was coughing because he had tried to smoke a cigarette. He thought smoking was his thing, because he found a lot of stubs of cigarettes in his room. So far, the only things he knows about him are that he likes to clean and is good with a knife, which give Ri-na an idea. She drags him to her mother's small restaurant and talks her into hiring him because they need help. At the first Ri-na's mother little unsure, but she agreed and Hyung-wook is hired, and she tell him smile more so he doesn't scare away customers. In the meantime, Jae-sung figures out that Hyung-wook's inability to remember things gives him the chance to change his life by pretending to be him. He looks up the address of his new home on the GPS in his car and drives there. He is surprised to find a nice apartment in one of the most expensive buildings in the city. After finding uniforms in the closet and deciding that Hyung-wook must be a police officer, he turns on the TV. But he sees security camera stream of a beautiful woman, named Sang Yoon-yo, doing yoga. The rest of the day, he eats, drinks, and sleeps. When he wakes up, the first thing he thinks is that Yoon-yo is killing herself on the screen. Which causes him to panic. In fact, she is acting like she is doing it in many different ways before going back to her yoga. Then, Jae-sung looks around the house for more food and finds a box full of money, which he uses to order a whole feast for himself. He also decides to take a bottle of wine from Hyung collection. When he pulls the right bottle, he finds a secret room behind the wall. This room is full of weapons, fake IDs, phones, and more security cameras that follow Yoon-yo. This makes him think that Hyung-wook is a cop, especially when he finds the notes he is on Yoon-yo. She was the one who went to the police with a pen drive full of information about the illegal activities of the company she used to work for, so she's now in witness protection. Since Hyung-wook can't protect her right now, Jae-sung decides he should, but to do that, he needs to know where she is. As she watches her on the screen, he sees the same delivery guy who brought her own food. He realizes that she lives in the same building as him, so he starts walking through every floor and ringing every doorbell to find her, but he fails because he didn't notice that he missed a door at the end of a hallway. But when he gets back to his apartment, he sees on TV that she is working out at the same time that he hears noises from the ceiling. This means that Yoon-yo lives right above him. He goes to see her and introduces himself, saying that neighbors should know each other. After she apologizes for the noise, she just shuts the door in his face. When Hyung-wook goes back to the restaurant, he does his job well. His knife skills allow him to make food that looks beautiful, which brings in a whole new group of customers to their business. When he turns the page on the calendar one night, he sees that he has an appointment on the 24th. He decides to go to the appointment to find out more about himself. This meeting turns out to be with some producers who drive around in a van picking up actors to be extras in their TV shows. In the meantime, Jae-sung starts following Yoon-yo around, trying to make it seem like they pass into each other by accident. After a while, Jae-sung sees that a man from her old company is following her. He quickly grabs her and takes her to his car, where she can hide safely, but she is still wary of him. When Thursday comes, Jae-sung sees she packing her things and bringing her suitcase to the middle of the street, as if she was waiting for someone, but no one comes. Jae-sung keeps following Yoon-yo around and pretending to bump into her by accident, slowly earning her trust and friendship. Eventually, they even start hanging out together. To keep her from leaving the building and putting herself in danger, he sends her puzzles as gifts and uses a projector to show her movies in the dark staircase. Slowly, the two of them start to fall in love with each other, but Jae-sung still doesn't understand why. Every Thursday, she stands in the middle of the street with her suitcase, waiting for someone who never shows up. Hyung-wook gets a part as an extra in a TV show about gangsters. He plays the bodyguard of a gang leader, who is played by a famous actor who is rude, selfish, and mean. He takes his role too seriously and shows off his martial arts skills by protecting the leader from all the attackers. This is a big change from the script, since the star should be the one to beat up the bad guys. They reshoot the scene so it fits the script, but this time the director isn't mad at Hyung-wook. He thinks his martial arts skills are great, so he gives him the role of the gang leader's right hand. When it's finally his turn to say his first line on screen, he messes it up and only says a few words, but the director loves it and keeps it, because he thinks it makes the character more interesting. When the director says nice things about Hyung-wook, it makes the main star very angry. Hyung-wook gets a lot of attention from fans on the street and in the restaurant because of his action scenes. This is what makes Ri-na decide to become his agent. When he becomes so popular, the writers decide to give him a bigger part. His character starts having an affair with the leader's girlfriend, which makes the main actor even more jealous. One night, one of Hyung-wook's phones rings, and after some thought, Jae-sung decides to answer it. The man on the other end of the line is surprised because Hyung-wook's rules is should not answer phone call, he should leave text message. The voice is a client of Hyung-wook's who wants to know why Yoon-yo's case hasn't been closed yet. When he asks Jae-sung to meet in person to talk about this, Jae-sung agrees. Jae-sung meets with people who used to work at Yoon-yo's old company in an abandoned building. The men want to know why Yoon-yo isn't dead yet, and they even offer more money to get it done. This makes Jae-sung realize that Hyung-wook isn't a cop, he's a hitman. Taking the bag with the extra money, Jae-sung tells them he'll contact them later and runs out of the building. This makes the company's boss suspicious, so he sends his men to follow him and find out where he's hiding Yoon-yo. When Hyung-wook goes back to work, he finds that he's not as good at shooting romantic scenes as he is at shooting action scenes. This makes the director very upset with him. He doesn't remember ever being in love, but he wants to get over feeling awkward around the subject, so he asks Ri-na to help him by practicing kissing. At first, she says no, but after he thanks her for all the other ways she's helped him and tells her she's beautiful, she decides to do it. They end up kissing in the street, and Hyung-wook later uses all the feelings he has while kissing her in the scene, which the director likes. As it starts to rain, Ri-na stops the van at a red light where Hyung-wook heard the same catchy song many weeks ago. The radio is playing the same song from the beginning. This set of events finally makes him remember his old life. After saying goodbye to Ri-na, he goes back to his old apartment and finds messages on his phones telling him to kill Yoon-yo and Jae-sung, who Hyung-wook quickly recognizes as the guy from the bathhouse and hospital. He sees Jae-sung take Yun-yo away on the security cameras, so Hyung-wook changes into his old clothes, gets his car back, and follows them to an apartment. Hyung-wook explains what happened to him before correcting Jae-sung's accusations of being a hitman. Yun-yo says she didn't know anything before. Hyung-wook isn't a real assassin, he just pretends to kill his victims. In reality, the assassination is all an act with fake weapons and fake blood, which explains why Yun-yo had been practicing how to die while doing yoga. Hyung-wook shares the money he gets paid for these murders with the people he kills. He gives them fake documents and a way to get away from the people who want them dead and start a new life. The mysterious person who took the suitcase on that rainy night was the victim getting ready to leave, which is why Yun-yo would wait with a suitcase as well. Hyung-wook decides to make a plan so that all three of them can disappear under new names. He does this because he can now have the dream life he's always wanted. He calls the company men and tells them to meet him at an abandoned building. At the abandoned building, the company men see Jae-sung stab Yun-yo and hide her body behind a piece of wall. He then takes a fake pen drive from her pocket and throws it at them, ending their deal. Hyung-wook shows up at that moment, pretending to be one of the 4 hired hitmen, and starts fighting Jae-sung with martial arts and knives. Their fight is pretty even, and they even fake stab each other a few more times before Rina comes in and asks what's going on. Hyung-wook acts like he doesn't know her and insults her to get her to leave, but this only makes her madder. Hyung-wook tells Jae-sung to go through with the plan, so Jae-sung goes after him with a knife, and Hyung-wook pretends to save Rina by getting between her and the knife. Now that they're all in the right place, Yun-yo presses a button on a special remote control and drops a factory container on top of them. It looks like they've been crushed, but the container is hollow and they're standing inside it. So that it looks more real, they let out a stream of fake blood from under the container. This makes the company men think they are dead, so they take the pen drive with them, thinking it is the real one. Jae-sung and Yun-yo are glad to see each other alive, so they hug and kiss. Hyung-wook follows a very upset Rina out of the building. He says he's sorry for surprising her this way and tells her his real age, which is 45, making him a lot older than her. When Rina hears this, she freaks out, but she now understands why he thought they couldn't be together. But they'll talk about that later, because she has to take him somewhere important right now. Hyung-wook's TV show is being taped at an amusement park, and Rina drives him there. Hyung-wook is supposed to film a scene where his character breaks up with his girlfriend to keep her safe, but he changes the script and tells her he wants to leave his old life behind and be with her instead. He keeps looking at Rina so she knows the speech is for her. This makes her very happy, and when she nods to show that she understands how he feels, the director decides that this version of the scene is better and keeps it. After that, Hyung-wook goes back to work at the restaurant, where everyone treats him like a family member. He also keeps working as an actor. When it's time for him to fight an enemy in the story, he's happy to find out that Jae-sung will be that enemy, so they can work as a team.